Trying to reach my goals, got no time for mistakes. Yeah, I'm standing on business, need a big safe. Suited up, got the blueprint in the briefcase. It's go time on the grind, these are big stakes.
Broadcasting from the franchise Sidekick studio, welcome to the Sidekick Life. Get ready for stories of passion, problem solvings, and success from those living life on their terms. All right, we're here with Michelle Poehler, author of Hello Fears, founder of Hello Fears, author, speaker, community leader. We're just so excited to have her. Michelle was just one of the keynotes at our conference here, and you killed it. You made us laugh. You made us cry. So many people came up to me and said, thank you for bringing you in. So we're really thankful that you were here and excited to have you here on the podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about Hello Fears. Tell us about you and your business.
Okay. So basically I have two sides of my business. This is very recent. Up until last year, I was a keynote speaker, 100%, like full time. I've been doing this for the last 9 years since I did my project 100 Days Without Fear, which ended up on a TEDx talk, and then that launched my career as a speaker. So I was feeling pretty comfortable there, having about, from 40 to 60 events a year. And then last year, I decided I wanted to launch a community to help Latina entrepreneurs around the world to launch their businesses. And oh my gosh, my life completely changed after that decision. I had no idea the impact that was going to have in my life and in the lives of like the thousands of people that have joined already.
Good for you. Good for you.
So tell us about like the fear part of it. So the 100 Days of Fear, this is amazing. Like you just ran through this. It's so incredible. Tell everybody about the 100 Days of Fear.
Well, I was living in New York City, doing a master's in branding at the School of Visual Arts in 2015. And we got this challenge to do a 100-day project. And ideally, we had to do something that could help us overcome some sort of limitation that we had in our life. And I was able to identify that my fears were limiting from actually becoming who I wanted to be and fulfilling my potential. And when I had this huge aha moment, mostly living in New York City, like, you know, you have to be a little bit brave to live in that city. It was like my dream to be there. And at the same time, I was still inside of my comfort zone. So at one point I was like, this is it. Even my friends doing the program challenged me to choose this project and do 100 fears, like face 100 fears. I was terrified because I went from a lifetime of saying no, thank you, and being very comfortable saying no thank you to absolutely everything that challenged me or got me uncomfortable, to saying yes to 100 things. That's how it all started, and that project literally changed my life.
That's amazing. And just think, change your life, you said, right? There's so much change that is involved with going from no thank you to I'm going to face 100 Days of Fear.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that process. Like, when did you think I might do this? And then when did that change to I'm going to do this? And then how did it feel once you actually started doing it?
Yeah. Well, when I moved to New York, I was like sure that I could still make it inside of my comfort zone. And it was one song from One Republic called I Lived. If you listen to it, it tells you something like, I broke every bone in my body, I broke my heart, I broke this. And I'm like, whoa, I've never broken a bone or my heart or anything. Am I living? I start questioning. And then I'm like, I think I've been going through life. I'm not sure I've been living my life. I've been avoiding failure, rejection, pain my entire life, that now I'm not sure I've been experiencing my life.
Wow.
That was a huge breakthrough moment for me. And that's when I decided I was going to face my fear. I had a lot of support from my husband. At the time, he always wanted me to become a braver person. And we didn't have kids at the moment. So it was like perfect timing. We were in New York, and that's when I was like, let's do it.
And what was fear number one?
So fear number one was accepting this challenge, which was the hardest of them all. To say, yes, I'm going to start facing all my fears after this moment.
How did you come up with the 100 fears? Like go through that process for me.
So I started writing them down. I thought it was going to be fairly easy because I've been avoiding fear. And I'm very vocal about it since I'm little. I'm like, I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of that. People know me like, oh, Michelle is so fearful. So I thought it was going to be easy. And then I hit 20 things on that list and I couldn't keep going. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if there's a 100-day project here. So I went on Facebook. This is 2015. And I wrote hi, you guys know me. This is my friends and family. Can you suggest fears that I can face? And so I had about 60 comments in there with a lot of ideas. So those that I couldn't relate to, for example, I don't have fear of heights. So go to a really tall building in New York. That's not scary for me. Yeah. I would not consider those. But suddenly I would hear things that I never considered in my life, like posing nude in front of an art class. I'm like, why did you tell me that? Crash a wedding, sing karaoke in front of an audience, do stand-up comedy, all these things, even things I didn't know existed. Like there's a body painting day in New York where you can like literally paint somebody and that person becomes your canvas, and it's a random like stranger, things like that I didn't know about. So I signed up for all of those things and did all of them.
And did you organize it? Did you know Fear 1 to Fear 100 in the order, or you just said pull from a hat, we're going?
Exactly. I had a list, and of course I was working full-time in advertising at the time. So every day from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. I would be in the agency, and then I would have to go to my branding program at night. So I was doing my master's. So I had a really busy life as I was doing the 100-day project. So one day I was like, okay, I have my lunch free. So what can I do during lunchtime? And I'm like, I can go to the Central Park Zoo and do like pet animals, which I hate. So I can do that by myself, record myself with a selfie stick and everything. Or I can ask for money in the street and experience what rejection feels like during lunch. Sure. If my lunch was busy, then at night, really late, I would like go to a bar by myself, see how that feels, or really early in the morning, face of fear, and then edit videos like around 11 p.m. I would start editing a video to upload.
And the question in my mind just keeps coming back to why. I mean, you probably had no idea it was going to turn into what it is, right? I mean, over 70 million people, the national following that you have, how many people you've inspired. So this is all Michelle Poler prior to that. This is Michelle Poler prior to day one, and I'm going to go face 100 days of fear. Why?
I wanted to become a brave mom. I knew I wanted kids at some point, and I was terrified of not being the right example for them, not being able to encourage them to face their own fears. And I was like, I have to experience this and then see what happens. And also, I'm very ambitious, very ambitious. Since I was little, I was like, I want to be famous. I want to be someone. I want to impact people's life. Yeah. And I was not going to get there.
I really love the part where you said you want to be a fearless mom, because we talk all the time about the purpose of our kids watching what we do. It's so powerful when you know somebody's watching. Somebody you love is watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have not broke a bone, so I feel like I'm not living. All of a sudden, I'm like questioning my life. I'm like, do I need to go break something? I don't know, maybe.
Me neither yet.
Not yet, huh?
Not yet, but I was close. I mean,
maybe
this skydiving.
Do something crazy together. I don't know. That's great. So you told a story that was amazing, and this isn't really around fear, but it is a little bit. You told a story about a car, and I want you to tell a story because we're at a sales conference, and this is the best example of marketing and sales I've ever seen, I think. I love the story. So would you mind sharing that story?
Yeah. So this is something that I've been doing since I was very little, like trying to stand out. It's part of who I am, part of my personality, wanting to be authentic and different. So what I always ask myself is, what is everybody else doing? And how can I be more me? Literally everything I do, from an email I send to how I dress up to any kind of communication or even selling a car. So when my husband decided to sell his Camaro, he was like, okay, we'll go on eBay, post this and say the typical lines like as good as new and things like that. Beautiful photos. And I was like, that's so boring. I come from advertising. We do things differently, right? We always have like a creative approach to life in general. And so I was thinking, if this would have been a project in my agency and I'm the creative director, how would I approach this differently? And so I thought, well, I would craft a video where I show the emotional side of it so I can appeal to that side of clients. And then I decided to put together this video. I am used to recording my entire life since around 2011, where I got my first GoPro. So I have a lot of footage. So footage from everything in my life. And so I put together a video where I showcase people how much we use the car and how much we love it. And then I edited with a love song and asked my husband to post that on eBay. He was not agreeing with me at all. He's like, you're crazy. People won't buy the car if they see it in use. But I was like, I don't know. I have a feeling we should try it. We should stand out. And like I say, contrast instead of compare. And we put it that same night we sold the car. And
your feeling was right. When you first said you shot a video, I pictured in my mind, like I say, this is the vehicle. It's 4-wheel drive. Check out the new tire.
But it wasn't. It was amazing.
It was so good. Like you played the video and I literally almost cried during a video that you were selling a car. It was so good. Like you made us fall in love with like even right now. I mean, I know.
It's so good. About it.
Yeah. So anyway, awesome job.
Thank you. I do that for everything. Like even when I applied to the School of Visual Arts in New York to do my master's in branding, I found out they only accept 30 people out of like thousands that apply. And I was like, I need to stand out. How can it be different? And how can it be more me? So instead of like showcasing my pieces in a way that show people, oh, I'm amazing, I actually did the opposite. And I showed them all my flaws. I'm like, I did this project. Would have been 100 times better if I would go to your program because I don't know about these things. That's awesome. Why I'm applying really here. Smart. Yeah, but it was so scary because I sent that portfolio shaking. Like, I have no idea. I've never seen anybody do anything like this. So I don't know how they will take it. But I got in through that project.
Fantastic.
Seems to me you got a knack for sticking out for, people, for getting attention. You're really good at it.
So tell me, how do you approach fear now? Like, how do you approach, as you go through life, how do you approach fear differently now?
So I think the biggest question I normally ask myself when I'm in front of a scary situation and I have that feeling that it's inevitable to have it when, like, maybe you're trying something new, something outside of your comfort zone, you don't know how the result of that will turn out. We feel fear, right? But for some reason, we confuse fear with intuition. And we think, oh, my intuition is telling me it's not time yet to do that. I'm not ready, or that's not the right way. So I've become really good at understanding when it's fear and when it's intuition. And so one of the questions that helped me figure it out is literally asking myself, and this is something that I shared during the presentation, asking yourself, what's the best that can happen? Because when you start seeing the result and you start picturing things just going well, and you smile and you're like, that feels good. Yes, I want that. Then it's not your intuition. It's just your fear holding you back. So that is my way of approaching, but I still feel it. Like the other day, a friend told me, let's go to this event together. A speaker was presenting and I started immediately thinking, it's late, it's far, there's traffic. Maybe I shouldn't go. My intuition's telling me to stay. I have a little kid at home. I shouldn't risk it. And then I'm like, what? No, I'll go. I'll have fun. I'll learn from another speaker. It was amazing.
That's great. And you said something in your speech that was awesome. It said, fear's your ally. I mean, it keeps us alive, right? And so that's a really important thing. So what you're talking about, that intuition, it keeps us alive. Yeah. And I really like that. You got to figure that out, though. What's the difference between keeping somebody alive and actually holding you back? So I love that comment you made.
Yeah, it is important. I when I first started the project, I loved the word fearless. I tattooed it like fake tattoo because I don't have a tattoo yet. I'm not that brave.
Another fear.
Yes. But the word fearless all over. Like every time it would washed out, I would put it again. I would do #fearless at the end of every post. And little by little, I was like, I will never fulfill the fearless definition. I am not fearless and I keep facing fears and I still don't feel fearless. I still feel very, let's say, brave. I even think that the word fearless takes away from my courage.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Fearless means you don't have fear.
And I think the feeling of fear tells us that we're constantly pushing ourselves. If you're in an everyday life and you never feel fear, you're not pushing yourself into anything new, which obviously that's not you. You're pushing yourself all the time. So, and with that, I imagine you get the question all the time from your followers is, what advice would you have for me to face my fears? And is it that point of what's the best that could happen? Is that what you say?
I think the main thing people need is to look inside. It takes courage to look inside, but look inside and figure out what you actually want. That's the first thing, because if not, we end up facing fears and we achieve things that don't fulfill us. And that's sad, And so the first thing I would love for people to do is just be really brutally honest with yourself. What do you want? If you wouldn't be trying to please anybody, or if you wouldn't be trying to belong or trying to, impress anybody, what would you do? Where would you live? What would you study? We do a lot of the things to please others.
Yeah, when it goes back to your checklist, I really like that. You said you had this checklist in your mind, and maybe you can explain it of what other people expected of you. Yeah. So when did that happen? Like, I think so many people, women, men, doesn't matter. You fall into this idea of here's what everybody expects from me, so I'm just going to go check the boxes. But you broke out. How'd you do that?
And it was hard. Like I was already married. I had a perfect like apartment in Miami with my husband. We both had really good jobs. I was in advertising, he's in finance. The next step was to start having kids. Everybody around us started having kids. And suddenly I'm like, I'm not happy. I am comfortable. I'm not happy. That's a huge difference between these two words. And I don't want to conform to that, to feeling comfortable. I want to be happy. Like I want to live my life to the fullest, and I'm not experiencing this right now. So I went to therapy, and that helped me realize that my dream was in New York and that I had to do everything in my hands to make it. And so that's when I moved to New York, and then and everybody like criticizes, like, are you crazy? It's time for you to start having kids. Like you've been married already for 2 or 3 years. And a lot of people, like told us things like, this won't matter in the future. Once you have your kids, that's all that matters. And I'm like, I don't know. I have a feeling I have to follow my intuition and move to New York and do all these things. And that's my first step, to go outside of what people expect out of me. And I started living my best life right there.
Well, you took your own path. And I think it's why you're so inspiring, because so many people think that.
Yeah.
Like, I want this path. I want to do something different. And they don't take any action on it.
Yeah.
A heavy percentage of people, I mean, even in our world, of helping people move into franchise ownership, lots of them are like, I want to do it, but 99% of them never do. So good for you for saying yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So how's your life changed last couple of years?
It's insane. So much. When I did the project, after it went viral, immediately I knew my life was never going to be the same. I've always dreamed about becoming an entrepreneur. Like I would come up with the craziest ideas and share them with my husband, and we were both always in the same page. Like, yes, as soon as we can, we want to quit our jobs and work together, develop something on our own. And we never knew exactly what was going to be. Suddenly this project goes viral, and for us was like very clear. This was our path. I never in my life imagined that fear, the one thing that people normally hide their fears, by exposing them, it suddenly became my personal brand. I became the fear girl.
Yeah.
And we both quit our jobs, started working together, which was our dream. We work really good together, so that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, because he's all the numbers, strategy, down to earth, and I'm always like daydreaming and visualizing and performing and all of that. So we started working together, and we've been working together ever since at everything we do.
Can we drill down more into the going viral part? So I've always thought that, you see people on social media or whatever, and all of a sudden nobody knew who they were.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden everybody knows who they are. So what did that feel like for you? Was it fast? Was it in the matter of a couple of weeks, months, years? Like, when did you know, like, I'm now viral and I can go create a living doing this thing as opposed to working in a marketing agency?
I would say it's a matter of a day.
One day.
Like I went from, who the heck is watching my videos and why am I doing this? This is so hard. I was facing one fear a day, editing a video, like really nicely editing, posting on YouTube, posting on Instagram, posting on Facebook, all of that. Nobody's following me. I didn't have any followers or anything, just like friends and family. But I was getting comments from friends and family saying, I'm inspired by your project, or things like, I quit my job through your project, or you inspired me to ask for a raise, and things like that. I was like, there's something there. And so suddenly I wake up one day with an email from Daily Mail in the UK saying, can we share your videos? And I'm like, oh, my life changed right now. I'm like, yes, you can share everything. And then hours later, it was on CNN, Huffington Post, everything. And I started getting that same day emails, and it was so challenging because I had to like figure out which emails are like random people saying I'm inspired and which ones are like the CNNs and CAAs and like really important companies from the world reaching out.
What a world we live in. I mean, literally you could wake up and you're just eating breakfast like a normal day, and by lunch you're like, oh, my life's changed.
So I would, like, very specifically, I want to know what you told your husband, or maybe your husband knew first, like when things started to get like crazy. Did you go to him and be like, you won't believe what just happened? Like, work me through that experience.
I just saw the email and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, this is the Daily Mail and it's true. Like, it's the actual Daily Mail. And what should I say? And he's like, say yes. Like we got really excited. We still had to go to our jobs that day. So I was in my job and I couldn't believe all the emails I was getting. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't deliver anything that day. It was great. I quit my job like 2 days later.
2 days later.
Yeah, because it kept going. And I think that the one thing we did really well that a lot of people don't know how to do, some do, is to like ride that wave and turn it into something. So actually I had a conversation with a virality expert. Her name is Karen X. She speaks about virality and everything for companies. I called her, somebody mentioned her, like you should reach out to her. She's an expert on virality. And she said, you have to figure out exactly what made people like inspired or feel so drawn to your project, and then you can make a whole career out of that if you figure it out. And then I was like, it's the vulnerability.
Yeah,
that's it.
100%.
It's the vulnerability part of it that makes people relate to what I'm doing, feel confident that they can do it too. So I just have to.
It's the same strategy you used when you applied to school. You were vulnerable. You said, here's all my weaknesses. And people love that.
Yeah.
Like they just want you to be real, and then they can make a decision on whether or not it's a fit. So that's good for you. So when this happened, was it before, after, or during your 100 Fears? Like, were you still in the middle of doing the 100 Fears? Or were you done?
So I was around, that day was day 40 of the project. I was actually about to drop out because it was getting very expensive. Because, to do skydiving, camping, all those things, you need to start spending your own money. So I was, financing this whole thing, living in New York with a Miami salary still. Like, it was so hard. And my husband's like, we will need to stop. Let's get it to day 50. And then maybe you continue next year. And then it went viral. And I was like, I saw this as a very clear sign from the universe that I had to continue doing this. So after that point, we reached out to all the companies and say, hey, my name is Michelle. I'm having this project that is going viral right now. Would you like to sponsor my skydiving thing? And we emailed like 3 companies. Whoever said yes, we would go with them. And we never paid anything else.
And they said yes right away. How many viewers were you getting at the time?
It was maybe, I don't even remember, like 30,000 followers, like from one day to the other. A lot of views, like videos have over 1 million views, some of them. So yeah, and it was all over the news. So it was like exciting for them.
My kids think they're going to be dude perfect, right? They're going to make a trick shot and just ride that viral wave all the way into stardom. Yeah, good for you. It's so cool.
Amazing.
I like what you said about day 101. That really resonated with me, especially in business when you connect to a business and then let's say you sell it and the next day you're like, now what? Because you've just you've identified yourself through that process for so long, you feel a little bit lost. So we talk a little bit about that, what you said about day 101 and how you felt lost and what you did from there.
Well, yeah, I finished the project. I didn't have any clear path at all or guidance. Like, who do you ask what to do after a 100-day project that went viral? Nobody, who has been through that experience? No one. And so I thought about applying to jobs because I was like, oh, now I can work at Instagram. Sure. I can work at Google, show them that I created this viral project. This is my new portfolio piece. And it was my husband who told me like, what if you like hire yourself? What if you do something with your story? And it's interesting how it all happened. I spoke at TEDx as my 100th fear. And then a speaker there, he's a professional keynote speaker, Jason Dorsey, he approached me. He's like, that was amazing. You should be a keynote speaker. You can make thousands of dollars out of that. And I was like, what? That's literally, he said, like, you can start charging, let's say $5,000. That's what I was making in a whole month in advertising. I'm like, that sounds amazing. So tell me more. And he's the one who told me like the step-by-step in a 30-minute call. That's it. And we put everything into action. And we were like a few months later already getting paid to speak.
Wow. So cool. When did the book come in? Like what stage?
Wow. So when the project went viral, I had an opportunity to do a book. I'm so glad that didn't work out. That would have been a total failure because I was not ready.
I see.
I feel people get too excited and about these things like, oh yeah, let's write a book, let's do a movie, let's do all these things. But I feel like we need time. We need time. We need growth. We need, to analyze things deeply. And so it took me 5 years after that moment, after going viral, to really understand fear and courage and how it works and all the tools, all the mindset, everything behind it. And so I'm really glad. It was a point in my life where I was like, I am ready. I wrote down like the 10 chapters. I was like, I want this book to be about the 10 things that limit people from becoming who they're meant to be. And I started society. That's the first thing I wrote down, which is chapter 3, society, fear of, for example, fear of rejection, fear of, failure. That's a huge one. So all these things that, don't allow people to become their authentic selves, and pursue what they actually want in life.
Mm-hmm. I like how you waited. You said it was 5 years.
Yeah.
And that whole time you were on the road and you were presenting.
Yeah.
So I bet while you're on the road meeting people, you learned a lot about how other people perceive fear, their own vulnerabilities. And it probably made you much, like you said, much more prepared to write that book.
I needed all those experiences.
Yeah.
I went to speak in Poland and learned from that. I went to speak in Israel. I went to speak in Latin America. And I started learning about cultures around fear, and learning so much from myself and people around me also.
Had a huge impact. So tell me one specific story maybe that made a massive impact on you, like something that you did for somebody, a transformation. Can you tell us a story on that?
The biggest transformation that I've been able to do is in the last year when I launched my membership.
Okay.
And I gave people a community of people that like comes together for the success of all of them, which is amazing to have that. It's not only, I thought I was giving them mentorship or, just a membership where they learn from me. And what I gave them was real community.
Yeah.
For me, now when they look at me and when they see me, they cry and they're like, thank you. Like you changed my life because of the community you provided for me. So now we're all over the world. People meet, every month. And they empower each other to go out and accomplish their dreams. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've done, mostly because it's for the Hispanic community.
Yeah.
And you're very easy to like and you're very easy to follow. I think, just in the short time that I had an opportunity to see you on stage, I'm looking around and people are staring at you. And at moments they're like laughing and crying. You had us all dancing at the end, which was awesome. I videoed that. I can't wait to post that. That's pretty cool. So I can totally see how easy it would be for you to create a community. And we all are a product of the people we surround ourselves with. So one of the things that the Sidekick life means, the first part of it, it means who do we serve? Like we believe a sidekick protects a hero and a hero is a main character that has a problem. So if you had to say who your ideal follower, client, customer, whatever you want to call it is, who is it and what's their problem?
So is a person that has a lot of potential, someone that is extremely talented, but her inner beliefs from when she grew up, so female from what you can tell, doesn't allow her to show herself and makes her doubt her potential and is constantly comparing herself to other people and thinking that bragging about yourself or your work or what you do, talking about yourself is wrong. So that's the person I want to confront and, help her and let her know it's okay to promote yourself. It's okay to talk about yourself. It's okay to love what you're doing and your job and feel proud of yourself. It's okay to feel deserving of more.
That's really good. And when you think about that woman who doesn't have a guide to get them out, how does it make you feel?
So frustrated. It feels, it hurts because I want to see everybody that has potential, fulfill that potential. And because at the end of the day, when you don't put yourself out there and when you don't put your talents out there, you are hurting the world. You're being selfish. And I just did a whole reel on Instagram about this. Would you rather be self-centered or selfish? Because a lot of people, they don't want to be perceived as self-centered, so they don't talk about themselves. They don't promote themselves. They don't expose what they do. They don't want to be considered self-centered. And I'm like, I'd rather be considered self-centered than selfish, because when you're keeping that to yourself, you're, hurting the world.
That's a really good perspective on that. So good. Well, okay. So if you don't mind, now can we move to the second half of what the Sidekick life means? And you're really good at talking about your personal life anyway, so this probably won't be a transition. But the second half of what it means is when you serve enough people and help enough people, how does it make your life better? And obviously in purpose, and we want to talk about purpose, but we want to know, do you travel differently? Do you have a better Camaro? Where are you in New York City? Talk to us about what it has meant for your own life.
I realized how important community is for me. I really didn't know maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago that I cared so much about community. And so how the way that my life has been mostly impacted by my recent work is that everywhere I go, I have a community. And not only that, but I travel with them. I give them the opportunity. You would never see me alone. Speakers most of the times travel by themselves. Right. I always bring someone with me. but because I love being, surrounded by people. And then every time I go to any city, if there are people from my community in that city, I go have dinner with them. So, and I've been doing that actually for a long time, but they weren't official part of, like, let's say my membership, which they're now, right? So now, for example, I was in Montreal and in Toronto, and I have people there. They put together a meeting, like a really nice event for me, because it's self-organized. They do it because they want me to go and enjoy and have a good time with them. So I met with 20 something people in Toronto, and then like 10 people in Montreal, but I always make time for them. And whenever I travel with my team. That's why Paula is here. And I bring people from my community. I'm like, who wants to go to Vegas for my next event?
That's
and
cool.
I always ask clients to allow me to bring at least 1, 2, 3. If they would allow me 10 people, I would bring 10 people. Trust me. Yeah.
That's great. What's it meant for your family?
What's what?
What's it meant for your family?
My family is now surrounded by a lot of very empowered women, which I think it's good also for my kid, for my 3-year-old to see. He's all the time surrounded by all these women that are now part of my life. They're in my house, they're wherever I go. So he's just surrounded. We call them, this is funny, we call them creídas. Creídas, my community is called in Spanish, créetelo, which means believe it. But in Spanish, the word creída is something, how would you like say it in English? I don't know, it's like when someone brags too much about themselves, it's like overly confident, and it's not well perceived, but we change the perception of that. And we say it's because we believe in our worth. That's it. It means we believe in our worth. Because once you're part of this community, you start really looking at yourself and valuing who you are. And so my little kid, he's 3 years old, and he's like, where are the creídas?
So good.
Yeah.
I love your passion.
I do too. And it's so validating too when our families see what we do and we feel good about it. And I'm sure you're feeling that and experiencing that. You're very good at being vulnerable. So if you don't mind me asking, like, you travel several times a week, speaking to others, inspiring others, which is such a great purpose, but it does probably take a toll. Like, you're away from your family. How do you process that? How do you handle it?
It is hard. Last year, actually, I had a meeting with an astrologist, and she told me something I needed to hear. She said, your son is doing great. Like, he was only 2.5 years old by the time. And she said, you have a really amazing connection with him. And it's like if he understands what you need to, experience in this life and what you're doing. So he feels very like confident and connected to you, even though when you're not there. So once she told me that, I felt like guilt free. I started traveling without guilt and, feeling. And what I do as a way to foster this feeling also is I always share with him that I'm leaving with a point of view from excitement more than guilt. So I'm always like, I'm so excited. I'm going to Omaha. I'll be speaking at these events. A lot of people will be dancing. A lot of people will be getting inspired, and so I try to, it's contagious. So instead of saying, I'm so sorry, I'm leaving, I'm like, I'm super excited to do this. So he's happy for me.
I love that. That's
really
amazing.
good.
I am going to steal that because I love that.
Everybody
is
should
awesome.
steal that.
That's incredible.
That's so good.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Which
he
is so cool.
he travels with me to like 50% of my events, and he ends up on stage every time.
Does he really?
Yeah, when
Oh,
I'm
cool.
dancing, I always tell my husband, like, bring him. So he comes and he dances on stage, and he's part of it.
You're making great memories for him. What about the things you do? So again, the Sidekick life is living a better life yourself by helping other people. What things do you do now that you couldn't do before?
It goes back again to community, because, for example, when we moved to Miami back, my husband, we have our friends there and everything, family, everything. But my husband every Sunday would go to play baseball. And he's like, you're staying with Noah. I'm going to play baseball the entire day. And I would be like, I want to have something that I can say the same thing. Yeah. Like, now I'm going to do this with these people and you're staying with Noah, Yeah. But I was like, I don't play any sports. I don't have hobbies. I love to work. That's all I do. And I'm very passionate about it. And then suddenly I have this amazing community and we meet, once a month at least, and it's like a really nice event. So when that day comes, I'm so happy. I'm like, you're staying with Noah, I'm going the entire day with them. and yes, and it's a lot of fun. So that's
amazing.
The things we do. And yeah.
What about, for fun, what, like travel, or you kind of shared your inspiration on homes up on stage. Has that gotten better for you since this has all happened?
Yes. So, we bought a beautiful home in Miami, and I have to say that it's all through the speaking, because we started from scratch. Like when I was doing the project and I decided to quit my job, it got to a point that we had like $1,000 in our account, and that's it. My husband has like a screenshot of that.
Yep.
And now we were able to build an entire house, like beautiful 6-room, house with a huge pool and very beautiful outdoor. And actually, someone like from my team was telling me today, why are you not showing your house? It's beautiful. And I think what's like I love the most about it is that it's very on brand. If you saw my slides, everything is very colorful. My house is just like that.
No kidding.
Everything is something called, like all the couches, all the walls are like art everywhere. People go in and they feel they're in a museum. They're like, is this your museum or?
But it's hard. It's hard to share if we buy a bigger home or we travel better. Those are the hard things, because we don't want to seem boastful, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to illustrate, like, you have inspired and helped millions of people. And because you've inspired and helped millions of people, it also translates into a better life for you and your husband and Noah and all that. And that's good. And it's the desire to live a better life that ultimately, I believe, is the thing that helps us overcome the hard stuff to help other people.
Yes.
And overcoming that fear. I mean, this all happens because you overcame fear. That's why you're sitting here.
Exactly.
That's why all this happened, is because you overcame fear.
That's why I don't have a problem sharing my lifestyle, sharing my home. It's all over Instagram. People know everything about my home. And they even were part of the process of creating the home. It all started a year and a half ago. So I showed the whole process and I made people part of it. And I feel really proud of it because we created it from scratch.
Yeah.
So we are the example for them.
100%.
Yeah, when they see my house, they dream of their own house. And I show them that it is possible. Not only that, but I have all my courses available, so they have my step-by-step on how I did it, because as you see, I'm very vulnerable and very transparent. I put everything out there. It's like, I started here, then I did this, and then, yes, 10 years later, I bought this home that we're so proud of.
I can so relate to that, because we're in the business of helping people move lots of times, like out of a corporate job into business ownership, but a heavy percentage of them that want to do it for whatever reason just decide they're not going to change. They're not going to move out of the comfort zone. You used the word frustrated, earlier. That's how I feel too. There's so much opportunity for people, but they have to overcome that fear.
Potential.
That's why you're so great.
Potential, not overcoming. And that's what it is. They're trying to get to their potential. They're not doing it. It's great.
Do we want to talk about Hello Fears?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, tell us about Hello Fears, the book. And where can people find it? What should they expect out of it? And anything else you want people to know?
Okay, so definitely writing a book. I thought my biggest challenge was going to be that I am not a reader myself. I have a hard time reading books. I like images too much and visuals. I'm a very visual person. Sure. So I wrote the book for myself. I was like, I need to write a book that I would read. So if you actually go through it, you'll see a lot of color. Not only that, but exercises. So every story I share with you, every takeaway, everything, then I bring it back to you. And then I ask you, how will you do it? What is your next step? What is the best that can happen for you, right? So when people tell me, oh, I'm going to buy one and share with my family, I'm like, no. You need one for each one of you. Like, everybody needs their own, because it's very private at the end of the day. It is a workbook for yourself. And the tone is so light and so like what you saw on stage. Like just storytelling that every story ends in a really deep, understanding of how humans work, how fear, how courage works. And so it's very revealing. Like, a lot of people say after reading this book, I completely changed my life. I left my husband, I moved away, I quit my job, like big transitions. And actually a lot of people buy the book and don't have the courage to read it. You have no idea how many people tell me, I have the book sitting in my shelf for a year already, 2 years. I don't have the courage to open it because I know I will face myself. And that's scary.
I went through it on Audible, and I love how you narrate it. And I love the stories. I'm just a story. I love hearing and learning through stories. So you do such a good job. Well, I think we're out of time. So first, just thank you so much. Actually, you know what? Before we end, I want one more question. Do you think you'll do this for the rest of your life?
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, that's
That
the
is
plan.
my
Great
plan.
answer.
Yes,
Can you
I
imagine
love-
how many
Yes,
people, how many
hopefully.
millions of people you'll help if you do this for the rest of your life?
Yeah. And you asked me, like, what do you do for fun? This.
Yeah.
I do this for fun. I love to travel. I love to travel with people. That's why I bring people. I love to eat. That's my love language is food. So everywhere I go, I have to research what's the best sushi place, the best matcha, the best this. And I love that. It's my best life.
I got one more though. I got to ask you, what was the hardest fear out of those 100? Or
yeah.
is there any that you didn't do that you're just like, this was the limit for me?
I didn't do bungee jumping because I was not curious about it. I did only things that I would always ask myself, how would that feel like?
Gotcha.
Like skydiving,
Sure.
you know, and things like that. But the hardest, and I always get that question, it's so hard to answer because the hardest fear is the one you haven't faced. Now that I face them, you know, every single day I would experience the same thing. Like today, I'm going to die. I face a fear. I'm like, okay, maybe that was not that bad.
I didn't die.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
I will die.
Yeah,
And it was the same over and over again until I realized, okay, it's always like that and it will always be like that until we face it and we realize it's not as bad as we thought.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a matter of expectations also.
You're a professional fear facer. Good for you. Yeah. So how can people find you? Like if they want to follow you and find you?
They can go to my website, michellepolar.com, if they want to have me at their events or follow me at Hello Fears on Instagram, or if they speak Spanish, at Michelle Polar, because I share a lot of my life in there.
And I'll be your testimonial. You did an amazing job. You're going to have a whole bunch of new followers from this.
sure.
Yeah. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. It was
Very
a
good.
pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on the Sidekick Life, where we highlight true sidekicks, entrepreneurs who've got their customers' backs, solve real world problems, and after helping enough people, get to live the life they've always dreamed of. We'll see you next time.